when you're talking about, on number 1, the parallel and perpendicular, you're talking about the parallel line to this and the perpendicular to this, all right? So it says graph the line that's perpendicular to the given line that passes through the point 2, -1. So the first thing you have to do is to find the point 2, -1. So you're going to go 2, 1, 2, -1, and put a point there. All right. Then we need, if you have a point, you need another point or a slope to be able to graph the line. Well, we know what the slope is because we're talking about the perpendicular slope to this. So this is my slope of the line. The perpendicular says you flip the fraction and change the sign. So we flip the fraction, so we have 3, 2. Yes, and change the sign. So probably next hour though, or during strategic. So this is 3/2. So from this point, you rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run 2. Then you connect those. So that's how you do your perpendicular. So, all right, number 4. Yep. All right, first of all, what is the slope? What is the slope of a line that goes up and down? What's that slope? Undefined. I want everyone to look up here and tell me, what is that point right there? What is this point right there? It is 1, 2, 3, right? And then, so we have -3. Is this x or y value? X. So your equation is x is equal to -3. Then we want to write an equation parallel through -2, 3. So we have to find the point, -2, 3. 1, 2, and then up 3. 1, 2, 3, and plot that point. What does a parallel line to this one look like?
Like this.
It does. It looks just like what we have. So it's right next to it. So this is the parallel line. I should have used a ruler, but this is the parallel line that's to this. What number is this? -2. Is that my x or y? X. So my equation is x equals -2. A perpendicular line through this point right here. So, what does a perpendicular line to a line that's up and down look like? Show me with your hand. The perpendicular to this. It looks like this, right? It looks like the one going right through it. So, this is my point. What point is this? What number is this? 3. Is that x or y value? Y. So my equation is y equals 3. So your equation is y equals 3 because that is the y value. How many of you do not have the second part of 4 done? Raise your hand. Okay. So we'll walk through it then. So what's the slope of this line? 0. This number is 2. Is this x equals 2 or y equals 2? Y. So we have y equals 2. I plot the point -2, 3. And now we want a parallel line. So a parallel line is going to look like this. So I have here is 1, 2, 3. Is it x equals 3 or y equals 3?
X. No, X. Both.
That point right there, is that on my x-axis or y-axis? Y. So it's y equals 3. Perpendicular to it goes straight up and down. So this is my point. So it's negative 2. Is negative 2 my x or y? It's my x. So what's my equation? X equals negative 2. When you do your x and y intercepts, remember when you want your x-intercept, you put in a 0 for y. So you can put a 0 in, you can see that your x is negative 6. Then for your y-intercept, you put a 0 in for your x value. And if I put a 0 in for my x value, negative 3 times what gives me negative 6? Negative 3 times what gives me negative 6? 2. So I put that there, just so you know. So 2 is my intercept, and my x-intercept is your negative 6. And you can write it as that or a point. I prefer points, but I know that sometimes you'll see it just like that also. All right, last one, number 7. All right, suppose an elevator is 400 feet above the ground. It descends at a rate of 10 feet per second. So what is the starting point? Where does the elevator start, class? 400. What does the word descend mean? Goes down. So that means it's going to be negative, and it's 10 feet per second. Now your slope is negative 10, but the feet per second is going to help you to answer the rest of these questions. So you really, if you write it like this, it will help you to answer these types of questions. So when we are talking slope, what's on the top? Is my y's on the top or my x's? Y's. So this is my y, and this is my x's. So my y's are feet, and my x's are seconds. What is your independent variable? Is that my x or my y? Your x. So your independent variable is x is equal to number of seconds. Your dependent variable is your y, and that equals number of feet. When we hear the word linear, what does linear mean? Do you guys know what linear is? It's what we've been doing all of this time. Linear is another word for line. Hopefully you guys see where it says linear, and the shortened that we call it is a line. So linear and line are the same thing. So write a line, so an equation for the line, but linear function, if we put it in front of function, a linear function for the height of the elevator. All right, so what we have here is the height, and we can call your y's being the feet and height, because that's what we're talking about. So we have y equals my m, which is negative 10, x plus b, which is the beginning. Is this discrete or continuous? The question you really have to ask is, can you have a fraction of a second And can you have a fraction of a foot?
Yes.
Yes. And if it's going to descend, it's not going to be at the top, and then the next thing you know, it's going to be at level 1. It has to go down. It might, like you guys might say, well, it stops, but it's still going down. It's not like there's nothing, like it doesn't jump from one level to the next. So it definitely is continuous. So it's continuous because you can have a fraction of a foot or a fraction of a second. Lastly, we have to go to 400 here, so I'm going to go by 50s, 51, 52, 53, 54, and put it up. And you can do whatever you want. You could find out what the 0 is if you wanted to. You can find out if we had here and solve it out. Or how I did it one time is you can put a 1 in and find out. Let's see what it is if it when y is 0, just to see. It is very hot in here, I agree. Negative 400 is equal to a negative 10x. Divide by negative 10. So x is 40. So my x-intercept is 40. So I'm actually going to count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And connect those two dots. If you wanted to find, if you didn't want to find the x-intercept, remember you could find always a point. To find out what the y value is when x is 5, you simply put it in here. So y equals negative 10 times 5 plus 400. Then we have a negative 50 plus your 400. So 400 minus 50 is 350. So 5 and 350 is right there. So you can do a T-chart too to find your values.